Can I have your attention? These beaches are officially closing for today. That means absolutely no more swimming. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Michael Katchmar. Welcome to Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Katchmar. Today's date is...
And Tyler.
And Tyler. And we can't forget about Tyler. Today's date is December 5th, the year of our Lord 2023. And we're really excited today. We have a guest who's zooming in from Australia. And I'm going to shoot it over to Tyler. First, I want to introduce Tyler and say hello. And then, Tyler, you can introduce our guest.
Yeah, so like Kat said, we're really excited about this one. Speaking to lifeguards from all over the world is something, is one of the main reasons we started this show, to kind of connect with this community. So we're really pumped to have, one of the best from Australia joining us today. His name is Matt Blackshaw. He's a full-time career seasonal ocean lifeguard from the south coast of the state of New Wales in Australia. He's a veteran of 12 Australian beach lifeguard seasons and even did 6 in Japan. So, Matt, we're going to bring you in right now. Why don't you say hello to everybody?
Hey, everyone. Name's Matt. I'm from South Coast, New South Wales, Australia. We're about an hour's drive south of Sydney. I just wanted to say to Cash and Tyler, thank you so much for your podcast. As you know, like all lifeguards live and breathe this job, and it's just such a good thing to have that lifeguard specific podcast. So keep them coming, and I'm always stoked to get a new download. So thanks very much for that.
Hey, we appreciate you, man. We were, I'm not gonna lie, we were pretty surprised when you reached out to us. Like I said, we've always wanted to reach lifeguards from all over the world, but for someone from Australia to reach out to us, it was pretty awesome feeling, And that part of your email where you said we all kind of deal with the same things, that was my favorite part about what you wrote.
Absolutely.
What are some of the stuff you've heard us talk about that you thought working in Australia was like, yeah, this is definitely us as well?
100% could definitely relate to the lost children, lost parents thing, and Kat's line about, did you see the child in the water? Did you see the child go under? That's just a scenario we get here every summer, because parents naturally freak out when they can't find their children. And of course, 90% of the time they're in the playground or, at the shop, down the beach. It could be like 500 meters down the beach. And it's more that we're like in your stories, you were saying you got lost parents, not lost children a lot of the time. The other thing I think we have in common is that we're seasonal, so we're 7 months.
Can you work on his audio? Hey, Matt, you still there?
Yep. Yeah.
We're just gonna try one thing. Can you want to see there's a no, you don't know how to do it. All right.
What though?
But it might be just a connection. So again, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, Matt. So continue on.
Sorry about that. So we're a 7-month seasonal operation here, which I think is, from what I'm listening to your podcast or operations, also a seasonal thing. And what that means is that we get a population of people that don't necessarily usually go to the beach in winter and don't have that exposure to the ocean coming down, and the population just swells here. So our customer base is probably pretty similar. So we get like a lot of people that just don't usually spend time in the ocean, that come down unaware of the dangers, and a lot of new immigrants and people from swimming cultures. So it definitely makes it, a challenging type of environment, but we all love it.
So let's start at the beginning of your lifeguard career. Like, how did you get into this? Is it something that a lot of young men and women from the coast of Australia dream of doing?
Yep. Yeah. So personally, for myself, I was doing surf coaching for about 5 years. So I was basically being paid to teach people a lot of customer service and lifeguarding in there. You get on the beach, and a lot of people want to become lifeguards. It's quite in Australia. It's quite competitive and quite niche. So it is a little bit hard to get into, but because I was down the beach teaching surfing every day, the lifeguards kind of saw the work that I was doing and said, why don't you come and do the test? So, when they first told me, I didn't really have an idea of what the test was, but I just knew you had to go as fast as you could and put a lot of effort into it. So then I went and I did the test, and I got the required certificates, which took quite a while. And then I got on as a casual lifeguard. So that's basically just where they call you on the day or a couple of days before and say it's going to be, can you come down and help us? And from there, they kind of assess you. And if they think like a junior lifeguard's got a bit of potential, they'll invest in them and train them. And I was just fortunate that I had some seasoned veterans that passed on their knowledge to me, and that's one of the trade craft. But in terms of people aspiring to be lifeguards, it is an achievement. It's something that you've got to definitely want to do and research how to get the qualifications. And then if you're coming from a surfer background, is learning how to train for the tests, because the tests are like quite arduous. So generally we pull from the surf clubs. So the surf clubs here are volunteer organisations, and they're actually pretty much the beginning of lifesaving and lifeguarding in Australia. So they sort of come in on the weekends, the volunteers, and they kind of bolster the lifeguard numbers. And when we work together, it's absolutely awesome. You kind of got a force multiplier, if you like, of lifeguards and lifesavers on the beach. So what we'll do generally is we'll ask the lifesaving clubs, you guys got some people that want a lifeguard. Obviously, like there's people going to university and young people, it's a really good option because it pays well for them. And then we'll just give them the information. Okay, these are the dates when we're going to think about testing, and these are the qualifications that you need. If you get there, then apply. So does that sort of answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely a couple things. So these life-saving clubs that you mentioned, are these volunteer organizations?
100%. So to break it down for you, the lifeguarding, life-saving in Australia started after the First World War. The reason we have red and yellow flags. So the red and yellow flags were put up by the Allies in the First World War outside the trenches when it was deemed safe to come out from poison or enemy fire. When those veterans came back from World War I, they had a lot of people with drowning on the beaches. So what they did is they would put the red and yellow flags up in a designated area and map the thing out. So yellow flags are an iconic part of Australian lifesaving. We have the luxury here where we're able to actually herd people into that area. I know on some of the other beaches around in the US, it's kind of a bit more spread out. So we put them on that sandbar. Anyway, so the life-saving clubs formed out of that, and it was basically return service people and other members in the community that wanted to keep the beach on the weekends. Those clubs had a focus on athletic fitness and swimming and all sorts of competitions. So because those are volunteer organisations, they're not able to provide that service during the week. Sort of work hours and everyone's working. So what they do is the town council of the town will appoint a lifeguard, and that's a local government job. So you're under the same organisation as the mayor, and everyone from the people who mow lawns to the guys that pave the roads to the lifeguards are employed under that local government umbrella. So what happens is the lifeguards are on, say, during the week and sometimes the weekends, and then you have the lifesavers come in on the weekend and they work together, and it just kind of bolsters everything. So, the volunteer lifesaving clubs are just an integral part of the history of lifesaving and lifeguarding in Australia.
Yeah, we've seen that. Matt, I want to ask you, how big is your beach? Like, how many miles is it? What's the length of the beach? Get an idea of your size.
Okay, we in our local government area we have 6 beaches, and they're about from the very first beach to the very last beach area of responsibility is about 20 kilometres. So that's then divided up into the 6 beaches. Most of our beaches are about 1 kilometre long, with either a jetty or a headland either side. And our sandbars tend to be pretty permanent, and then we have pretty much the side sandbar.
What kind of, like, how big the ocean get where you are? Like, say during your season, like we'll get, for us a big day is 3 to 5, and hurricane. I mean, usually a northeaster comes by, we'll get maybe 4 to 6. Hurricane, you get a little bit bigger, but we don't get too much bigger than that. Like, what's your average kind of wave height where you guys lifeguard?
Okay, so it gets as big as it gets. I mean, the biggest I've seen it here in Australia is 12 foot. But don't get me wrong, there's no way I'm going out there when it's that big. Average swell days like today is 1-2 foot.
Oh, okay.
So it, yeah.
How big of an
sort
ocean?
Of something that we manage, so we have to make it.
How big of an ocean do you let people swim in? In other words, when do you pull the plug, or do you, or you don't? You let them go out in their own, because I watched the Bondi Beach. They let them go. It doesn't look like they just do what they want to do. They go. We're a little bit different in New Jersey, but I was just wondering, do you guys just let them go? I mean, say it's a 6 to 8 foot day, and you allow the people to go swim out there, or do you pull the plug?
So what we'll do is we'll get to the beach, do a risk assessment, and decide that it's, obviously big, or too much water moving. Mm-hmm. From there, we'll place signs on the beach that say beach closed, swimming not advised. All the rescue equipment goes on, and then depending on the visitation, we will usually walk down and tell people, hey, the beach is closed. We don't advise swimming. And we give another option. So we'll say there's a pool open here. Fortunately in Australia, we've got lots of rock pools, ocean rock pools. So we can kind of send them there. Always try and give them an alternative. People are going to go out when it's that big. Just recently, we had a really big swell here, and it was, full. And, a bunch of schoolboys trying to get out there on, dated surfboards and bodyboards with no flippers. They just drove down. It's death out there, basically. And, being 12-year-old boys, they kind of just paid us off and went out anyway. They got pushed straight back into shore. We can't tell them you can't go out, but we can say swimming not advised. Don't get out, please. Right. Get out there from there. It's up to us whether we respond. So once we've issued that warning, that's it. But I kind of like how you guys are able to act with the water. It's just with the average Australian punter, they're not going to listen to us.
Do you guys? How do you guys make your rescues? Do you make them with boards? Do you use ropes at all? Like like we use we have a rope. Okay. We have a can. So what's your typical rescue scenario?
Okay, so we use tubes. So some people call them bananas. I think you guys have got the red ones. We've got yellow ones. Rescue ones. Tube. You've got one that's yellow, but they're pretty much the same. We've got rescue boards, which are basically like a 9.5, 10 foot surfboard with a lot of thickness on it, handles on the side. So we'll take a choice. If it's short, we're going to most probably take a rescue tube, because if you're trying to do a rescue in the shore break, as you know, it's pretty hard on something solid. So we use the tube. If they're far out enough and it's manageable, we'll take the board. So one lifeguard will paddle the board out. They'll get out the station. Hopefully they're conscious. If they're conscious, we'll put them on. Usually with them in front of us, we'll move right back on the board and we'll surf the board in and get them to shore. If they're unconscious, we've got to do the whole flip the board upside down, get them on with unconscious rescue. Like I always tell people, it doesn't matter how many times you do the correct method, they're dead weight. A lot of the time they just fall off. So unfortunately we have had that stereotype. There's tube board, then we've got the jet ski. If anything super big goes down, that's usually if there's a boat, vessel, kite surfer, stand-up paddleboarder, or the conditions are that big that we can't get somebody in safely on a board or a tube. But yeah, it does originate from the rope catch. So we had rope and reel here in Australia, and then it went from that to, that's probably 40 years ago, to boards and tubes.
For what reason was the rope and reel, as you called it, why'd you guys drop that?
I think, just from my understanding, it kind of just became more, there wasn't enough people to serve statement. So if you had 2 lifeguards on the beach, it was kind of a little bit arduous for them to get that whole gear out. They could just grab onto a tube and go from there. It's kind of a bit more high speed. So yeah, that's where I think it came from. The rope and reel is still used as part of the ceremonial part of the surf clubs, and they actually have competitions every year to in who can operate the rope and reel the best way. So it's actually a competition that's run across Australia. So it's still preserved, but it's just in terms of efficiency, it's just easier to use a board or a tube.
Well, I'll throw my 2 cents in, as being a little bit older. Number one is to take a board out, even you get out faster than somebody swimming, but to bring somebody in on a board and to get out on a board on a big day, you got to be good. So there's a lot of expertise. It's a lot easier with a rope. The other thing too is in our area, our runs cook. And when I say they cook, they're pulling out real hard. So if you just go out with a board, I mean, you could come in pretty easy, but again, you got to have the expertise. But we find that in our short rescues, when we have multiple victims, we get them in a lot quicker with the rope. But you make a good point. A lot of beaches around here are starting to get away from the ropes, just so you know, because, like you said, it takes up a lot of the lifeguards. Somebody has to pull it in. And but sometimes you're caught where the other thing is where you're out there with 2 or 3 people, and it can take a long time to get them in because you're trying to swim them in, and if you don't get out of the rip and onto the bar, you have an issue, and then the bar can be really crazy. So, but I think that more and more beaches around here are I don't say definitely getting away from the rope. But I don't know if they're going into the what do you call it, boards more. But that's a lot of talent. I mean, I watched the Bondi Beach on TV. Those guys are good. That is not easy what they do. I mean, what you guys do. So, a lot. Like I was just down in Florida in Fort Lauderdale, and there's one guy, one person per lifeguard station. So they don't have the ability for somebody to pull them in. They got to go out, make the rescue, and come back in. So it's limited. So that's another reason. So. We got some bad.
Believe me, there's times that I would have loved to have had a rope. Believe me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like you get out there and you get them on the board or you get them on the tube, and then it's like, oh great, like now I'm just gonna have to battle against this thing. So like yeah, it would be nice to have that to get us in. Yeah, so like a lot of the lifeguard surfers and we do get an hour of training every day, kind of in our work day. So everyone's encouraged to take a board and do ins and outs. Australian lifeguards, I'm like sure like the American counterparts train pretty hard. I know that the Americans can't. I've seen them.
No, we just sit on a stand and have coffee and donuts. We don't have to train. Listen, Matt, we're that good. No, you don't know. America, come on, this is America. We don't train at all. We we're so good. We just yeah. No, but I tell you what,
coffee and donuts.
Interrupt you, but it's so funny because I go all around different parts in the country and the world, and lifeguarding is very physical. People, I think there's the perception we sit on a stand, we put suntan lotion on. When you're gonna make a rescue, and there's huge ocean, and these people, like you said, some are conscious, some are intoxicated. They don't weigh 80 pounds. You could have a 350-pound individual. You got to muscle them. You got to be strong. And then coming through the break, I always tell the young lifeguards, there's two parts to the rescue. Is getting out to the victim. That's only half of it. You got to get them in. And when there's big ocean and there's crushing on the bar, you got to get them in and not hurt them and not let them drown in the wash. And you have to really be physical. So we encourage a lot of lifting. We do a lot of weightlifting, a lot of strengthening. We teach these guys how to hold their breath underwater. But we hire a lot of wrestlers actually, and we teach them how to swim. They're great athletes. We like that because they're tough. They're tough and they're strong, and they have a lot of inner core. So it's funny who we like to get. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting that you say about that. So you guys do an hour training and then what?
Yeah. So
That bad
we
audio.
get to work with the flags up. We train for an hour, usually board, running, swimming. Let me just shut this window to get the noise outside.
Yeah, the audio's kind of tough.
Um,
Oh, that's better.
Sorry about that.
That's way better. So yeah, we were going to try on our end. We were trying to fix it here, but go ahead.
So put the flags up. An hour of training. Yeah. In and outs, board, rescue tube, in and outs, swimming, running. And then from there, we'll just provide surveillance over the beach. A lot of guys kind of train outside of work because they're doing competitions, triathlons or surf lifesaving competitions and stuff. So a lot of guys will have swum 5-7 kilometers before they get to work,
Yeah, we do that.
So yeah.
I want to ask you. You gave some details about the required fitness standards to become part of your patrol. I'll read them out real quick, and then I want to ask you about them. Mm-hmm. So, you have an 800-meter pool swim in under 14 minutes. No flippers, wetsuits, or swimming aids. A 1.6 kilometer run on a concrete surface, which is about a mile, in less than 7 minutes. An M-shaped open ocean mission comprising of 2 300-meter surf buoy swims into an 800-meter sand run, and then 2 300-meter surf buoy rescue board paddles with another 800-meter sand run in 27 minutes or less. So compared to us, now I would wager that most of our lifeguards would be able to complete that. However, our standard for entry is a bit lower. In one of our emails back and forth, you mentioned also that you guys over there are also dealing with this worldwide lifeguard shortage. Do you think that these standards affect your ability to draw candidates? And even if that's the case, where do you see the value in not lowering them? You get what I'm asking? Like is it worth not lowering them to make sure that you have the right quality candidates as opposed to lowering them so you can get more bodies in the door?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously everywhere's got a shortage of lifeguards at the moment, which is good if you are a lifeguard, because the means it's going to work. So the 800-meter swim, that was into the testing to basically, it was like a cult. And it was basically, the thinking behind it was, if you can't handle yourself in the pool, you don't have the stamina in the pool, then we can't take you down to the ocean. So that's a pass fail. Then from there, they'll go to the 1.6 kilometer run, so it's a mile run in 7 minutes or less. That is to test your cardiovascular fitness and your basically ability to sprint. It's also used by the human resources in order to say, well, we don't need to put these guys through medicals because they can pass this standard, and this is the standard that's been being sound physical fitness. So from there, then they'll go to the ocean mission, and that's where pretty much the real test is, because you can get down to the beach. It may be 1 foot, it may be 5 foot, you know, on a real short period or whatever. So it's a real kind of test of being able to negotiate surf. That's swimming out unaided and then going into a, you know, strenuous soft sand run, then going to a red board paddle, then back into the soft sand run. So it really is a mental. The whole three components are a mental thing. You know, if you're psychologically going to give up, well, maybe you need more exposure. It is challenging. You have to train for it. There's no other way. Like me, I'm 45 now. I've been doing this for 12 years. I just pretty much 2 months before it, I got to go to the pool 3 times a week, get my swim time down. I got to run. I got to make sure I'm out there in the surf, which is no problem. But it is perfectly achievable. But yes, it does narrow down our pool of candidates, because there are people out there like the MTs, firefighters, school teachers that have the skills, they have the people skills, and they have the first aid and emergency response management skills. Getting past that testing, that it's just a massive hurdle for them. So probably if I was going to drop anything personally, I'd probably drop the run, just because we're already running in the mission anyway. There has been talk of amending the 800 meter pool swim down to perhaps a 400 meter pool swim in 7 minutes, because it's definitely more obtainable. Yeah, I really think, like, just from my experience, I don't know what anybody else gets, but I'm not being biased here. Generally, the faster guys that usually have the shortest attention spans. It's not me being mean, but I find the guys that are kind of have really kind of pushed and trained hard for it because they want to be here. A lot of the time, they're a little bit more sort of proactive with their surveillance, and they're kind of trying a little bit harder to sort of, justify their existence, if you get, like, on the beach. So it's good to have that mix of absolutely fast guys, and then your guys that are kind of just making it, because a lot of the time that dynamic works better overall. As you know, like in lifeguarding, there's intensity and intense boredom. So it's probably what's more important overall to me than the fitness side is that ability, the mechanism of the individual lifeguard to be able to say, okay, it's gone from bad weather to really hot weather. There's people here at the beach on switch. It's kind of a discipline within itself.
I really like a couple things you pointed out there outside just the strictly like physical scope of the test and standards, because that's something, as you know, as I've been in the game for 10 years now, and you know, as I started to become what we call over here a senior guard, you know, someone who trains the younger lifeguards and kind of tries to guide them in the right direction, like the physical stuff almost is like what I emphasize the least, because it's almost like if you're doing this job, the expectation is that you're fit enough to do the job. You know what I mean? So what I like to spend my time driving into these guys is like the stuff like you talked about. Those people skills are so important, you know, and I also like how you pointed out, you know, parts of the test aren't just to see if you're physically capable, it's to see if you're mentally capable.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I spend a lot of time talking to these young guys and girls about is, listen, I know you can pass the test. I know you can pull off a rescue when you know everything's lined up and you know what's going on. But I want to know how you're going to react under pressure. I want to know how you're going to react when it's bad surf and it's me out there that you have to come get. I don't want to see you quit. You know, so for me, the biggest red flag when it comes to fitness tests and betting in young lifeguards is when I see them give up in a training situation. Because if you're willing to give up in a training situation, you know, God knows where else you're willing to give up.
Well, what we do, Matt, back in my day, there was no USLA. Now, USLA right now in the United States, it's 10 minutes in a 500-yard pool. You have to go under 20 minutes. Excuse me, under 10 minutes in 500 yards. And that's really the key right there. But what we do, years ago, we used to make you swim out. We started the beach, and we would have lifeguard tryouts in June. Water's in the 50s, sometimes 52, sometimes 57, but rarely in the 60s. And you would swim out a rope to a boat. We would row our boats out. We have Van Dyne boats. And you had to make it out there. And you know, that, number one, showed you how much guts you had. But even today, we don't do that too often. We have it in the pool. But what we'll do then is we'll take our guys who pass the test, and then we'll train them. And when Tyler talks about swimming, I'm the opposite. I put the buoy out, and we do buoy swims. And these guys are like, he's laughing. Look at him right now. He knows.
Well, no, because
they hate me when I go buoy swims.
Because Matt, you were talking about the dynamic. You broke up a little bit, but I'm 90% sure what you're saying was you have the guys that are like super fit, super fast and everything that, you know, always like ready physically. And then you have the guys guys and girls sometimes that maybe are coming in towards like the latter stages of these fitness tests, but they have their own value because, and I was always like, whether it was, you know, college soccer, whether it was this job, like I've never been the most physically fit player on the team or guard on the beach. But I have this switch in my mind where I can push myself and finish faster than someone who is fitter than me because, like, there's no other way to put it.
You have the heart.
I'm willing to throw up before I let you beat me.
So I'll give you a good example of that. Which,
yeah.
What's that? Yeah. So we had I don't think it was this summer. It was last summer. So not this summer. So we had a busy day and we were making a lot of rescues. And I'm up on a stand. I try not to go into the water if I don't have to because I want to supervise. But I'm supervising 2 rescues going on.
It's because last time you went in the water, you
broke
ripped
my
your
arm.
shoulder out.
yeah, I fractured. I have a plate in my shoulder right now. It's got to come out. But I don't know if you listened to our podcast I had a rescue at Labor Day and I broke my collarbone. But anyway, we had a rookie or maybe a first-year lifeguard, and during workouts in the morning, he got hammered. He was swimming, and he did terrible. And we all gave him a hard time. You know, he was behind the pack and everything. But that day, he was rotating down to an end stand, and there was a lady just got sucked right out. She came from another beach. And anyway, I didn't know it was him, and I just get on the radio and go, 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 go. You know, and he took off. I didn't even know it was him. He swam like Mark Spitz. I mean, he flew out there and made the rescue. And he was like a 16-year-old kid, you know. And and he came in, and I said, you know, you saved that woman's life. And I said, you know, you swam so good, you probably would have beat the whole beach patrol, but what happened in the morning? You know, so I think that it's important to have standards. You know, I'm all for standards. I think it's important. And also, but I also, when people listen to our podcast here, I always want people out there, if you want to be a lifeguard, don't get disheartened if you're not the best swimmer or the best runner. You know, we hire people and we don't put them on the ocean. Some of them are on the edge, and we train them. And we tell them, listen, you got 2-3 weeks, you know, and if you want to really, you know, come around, you got to be able to, you know, swim and do things and get better. And a lot of them just blossom, and it's amazing. And also over the years, which is a nice thing. But I think it's important that you have criteria. So you guys don't follow USLA. You guys have, is that those distances and times, are they national, Australian national, or is that just your local beach?
It's New South Wales, which is the state.
Okay.
So everybody that works in New South Wales has to be on that standard if they want to be employed.
Okay, so that's a state law. And let me ask you about the other thing that you mentioned. You know, on our beach, it's kind of like a private, but people do pay. But we have laws. We could lock you up if you continue to go in the water. You know, it's against our, we'll say, disregard of lifeguard instructional directions. But it seems like in Australia, when I watch some of the podcasts and or the videos, that you could warn them, but you can't stop them. And so what's, like, generally speaking, do you have beaches that people, like, they're unprotected, they just go out, and or if they don't listen to you, you just step back and then just make the rescues when you have to?
So unfortunately, we do have a lot of unpatrolled beaches, and that is because we've got such a large coastline. So
Right.
a lot of the drownings that happen are either out of lifeguard hours or at unpatrolled beaches. There's signage at pretty much all beach entrances in Australia with warning on them, people don't read signs. So that's that side of it. Then from our perspective, once the customer has walked past the signage and advised by our lifeguard staff that conditions are unsafe to swim in and given another option, it's totally up to us if we do the rescue. Like I said the other day with those boys trying to go out and 12-foot surf,
Oof.
you just got to, you just got to sit there and watch and pretty much strategize about how you could go get someone. I'd say 80% of people will listen, especially as we give them another option and say, look, there's a pool over here. It's the same water.
Yeah.
But you get the 20% that pay it off and don't, and the risk is entirely on them. From there, it's up to the lifeguards. Obviously we're going to go give it our best, but I have seen conditions where it is absolute death and they've gone out.
Yeah. So your water, how warm is your water right now? Like, what in the middle of the season? Like, how warm does it get?
Okay, so today you're looking at about 23 degrees Celsius, so that'd be like high 80s in the Fahrenheit.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yep. So it's like a bath.
Wow.
Yeah, we got the breeze. So our breeze comes from predominantly in summer from the northeast, and what that is sometimes upwells the cold water from off the coast.
Yeah.
So we'll get a real hot day. Everyone's coming down the beach, and the water drops down to 16 Celsius, which is like 50s, and people get a big shock. But generally, from now until May, you're looking at 22, 23 degree water.
Wow.
Now, Celsius.
Now, where you guys are located, so here, in the wintertime now, it gets dark at 4:30. When we're lifeguarding in the summer, June, July, our sun, it's light out until 9. I mean, we could lifeguard until 8 o'clock at night. So how is your time? Like, what's when I go down to Caribbean, the sun comes up at 6:30, goes down at 6:30. So what's your day? How many hours do you need to lifeguard? Like, how light?
So most
daylight.
of the beaches are 8 or 9 hours for the actual patrol. So that's generally 9 till 5 or 9 till 6 p.m. The sun comes up in summer at just after 5 and goes down at about 8:30. So you're looking at getting dark at 9 p.m.
Oh, okay. So same thing.
Yeah. So like most people are pretty good, and they'll only come down and swim when the beaches are patrolled. But then you got the ones that don't, and that's when a lot of things happen, unfortunately. Everyone's got budgets.
Matt, let's switch gears just a little bit real quick here, because I know you're running out of time pretty quickly. You gotta go get to work, which I wish we were doing the same this time of year, but we're not. It's of my opinion that every experienced lifeguard, there's like a point in their career where something happens, like and it's usually a rescue or it's just some sort of situation on the beach that kind of in the early part of their career, they begin to get comfortable with the job and they get this illusion of control over things that are happening. And then something happens. It's a big rescue. It's an injury on the beach, that kind of reshifts your perspective and brings you back to that almost not scared, but very aware of the dangers feeling. Do you have anything you can think of that happened particularly that might have reshaped your perspective in a similar way?
Or a better way to put one of your best rescues or craziest rescues, or like, really something that sticks out, because we all have one.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so you have a learning job, right? And it's just the most uncommon, unthought of scenarios happen. The ocean's always going to be the boss, like you said, Tyler. Like when you're young, you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, I'm sweating, whatever. But you do learn your limits, whether that be through hold downs or something going completely sideways without, knowing what to do. I'd say, like, from a humility perspective, my story, I was in Japan about 5 years ago, and there was a typhoon that came through, and I was actually lifeguarding at one beach. I'd gone to another beach, which I didn't really know too well, and I'd swum out, and I'm looking at it, and it's like, head high, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's all good. And the lifeguard there, he's on the board and said to me in, English, Japanese, it's a typhoon. It's really, really unsafe. You need to come in. And, I really thought to myself, I'm a lifeguard, should be sweet, And anyway, so I did come in because I kind of didn't like that pressure, and I didn't want to upset, what they had going on there. And just when I did come in, an 8-foot set came through. It was 3 times the size of any other wave that I'd been out there, and it smashed. It would have been 8 waves in the set, and they send through these lulls, and then medium-sized waves, and then a massive set will come through. And I just thought to myself, if I had been out there and that 8-foot set had come through, like, I would have got severely smashed. So, like, I guess for me, that was like a humbling thing, just thinking, yeah, I'm on top of it, I'm sweet. And just seeing that, because when you see serious surf, it's coming in, that, what the prospects are. So, yeah, in terms of rescues, I've had people, I've been sitting on the water's edge before, and I've had someone come up to me and say, I think I'm having a heart attack. And I've got the defib out, put them down on the sand, and they've gone out. And we've whacked the pads on and started doing CPR. Had the ambulance come, and then a year later, that same person came down to me at the beach. I didn't recognize them because they lost so much weight, and they're like, "Hey, man, you saved my life, dude." So, and shake my hand, So, I mean, that's priceless, isn't it? And that's what you're here for. Yeah. But overall, like, for me, it's just about being ready, having the responsibility, and knowing that I am making a difference, and that's what just keeps me going.
Hell yeah. I love the two things you mentioned. One, just the idea that the ocean always wins, and for me, like, that kind of way of thinking, like, has almost become like a spiritual kind of thing for me. Like I go out there and I understand I'm at its mercy, and or its wrath, whichever it chooses. And that has really helped me just understand the power of the ocean and put it into perspective for people that don't understand it as well as I do. Because at the end of the day, my level of understanding of the ocean is not, in the grand scheme of things, all that much higher than the average beachgoer. And if as a guard you realize that, you're more likely to be more cautious. You're more likely to take people's safety a lot more seriously. Kat, you got anything to add?
Yeah, well, about all of this, I think everybody lifeguards has the same thing. You don't want anybody to drown. Our beach has different challenges. I'm very sure your beach. The geography. Some people have jetties. Some people have, coral reefs that don't change. Our bars, we have I don't know how much tidal change, but in 6 hours we could have 12 foot of tidal change, 12 foot. So you know, in the morning the stands go real close, the water's right there, and by 3 o'clock in the afternoon we got to move the stands down because you got 25 yards, 30 yards of the water has receded back out. You can't even see the people, and then the bars come up. So it's a challenge for us. So that doesn't help. We have winds that change, obviously, in our area. A lot of times in the morning there'll be a west wind which comes from our back, and then it goes southeast, which comes to our face. Changes up the dynamics of the water. Of course, this summer past we've had just horrible ocean. I mean, this is still swells all over the place. And then we have other added things, so you got that. Then you have the people. I don't know what density you have, but we, on a weekend, you got to look at our pictures. We have, on a weekend, on a weekday, a weekend day, say Saturday or Sunday, we could have 30 to 40,000 people in 1 Mile Beach. And out of that, it's, in New Jersey, we're like the UN. We have 130 different languages spoken. And we have people who don't speak English. We have people who've never been in the water. And all of that, plays into it. And when you respect the ocean, but we try to teach these kids, it's such a dynamic thing. So we have it takes such a long time to learn how to lifeguard, but we have changing tides, we have changing dynamics, the physical world, and then we have the people that come down. And then, of course, what happens is people are driving down from the North Jersey, which is about an hour ride, and 6-pack of beer, and so 12, 1 o'clock, by 3, 4, 5 o'clock, people are drunk. And the drunks come onto the beach. We respect everything, but I think big thing too is we have to understand human nature. We all have I think that if I prop you in Seaside Heights this summer, within a week you'd be perfect. You pick up because you have that base understanding, and you would be fine. Just like us, we'd go down there and we would get it. Just like you mentioned before, you went to a beach that you didn't really know, and but as far as the worst case scenarios and I wanted to ask you, because we always ask everyone who we talk to, can you remember in your history of a really unbelievable rescue where, I mean, they were definitely going down, and maybe it happens all the time to you, but I mean, where it sticks out of your mind that like it was just an amazing, like maybe 10 people fell off a bar, or just an incredible scenario that you could share with us. Anything come to mind? I know I put you on the spot. I don't know if you could think of anything.
Okay, so I'll give you one with a happy ending.
Yeah, we won't. Yeah, that's good.
I was working at a beach in Japan, and it's beautiful. It's got white sand, crystal clear blue water. Little waves. There's a lot of stuff going on. Everyone's drinking alcohol. You can do anything there. You can smoke. You can drink. You can bring your dog. It's anything goes. It's a day called Uminohi, so that's a day of the ocean, and that's their national holiday. And I'm in the stand, I'm working with a Japanese lifeguard, I'm looking out at probably about 500 meters out, and I can see this object upside down with a type of block on top of it, and 4 guys kind of clinging to this object. And so we've radioed through to the head lifeguard, we're going out. We've paddled boards out, me and this other lifeguard, and we got out there, and there's 4 guys clinging to an upturned dinghy, and they got a case of beer on top of the upturned dinghy, and they all had beers in their hands. And these guys are drunk, man. Like they've been at it for a few hours, and decided to take the dinghy out. And I've gone, it's happening, boys. And they're like, oh, can you help us get in? Like we're so drunk and we're so tired and we can't flip this boat over. So we've tied tubes to the dinghy, and these guys are still holding on, like still drinking their beers. we paddled the dinghy in, right? We paddled the dinghy in and got into the surf zone, and they're like, stop. And I look back and they're like trying to grab the beers because the beers are off in the surf.
Yeah.
So that's a good one.
That's a good one. It's funny because I could, now that you bring that up, I could tell you a quick similar story where we were closing up, 6 o'clock, and we get storms from the west. coming, from the west to the east, and we're on the East Coast. So you could see the sky is getting black, and it was getting nasty. And we were watching, the weather. Anyway, we're closing up, and before we get out, with the lifeguards were at the beach, I see this object out past the pier. So, probably 500 yards, like you said. And I put the binoculars on, and it's a guy and a girl, and he's got a dinghy, a small dinghy, and he's rowing it, and he's got a tire tube that's attached to the dinghy with a rope, as if that was the tender, like a yacht, you pull your tender, right? So and there's a storm coming, and we're like, and I don't see any life preservers, so I'm like, shit. So we get down, we launch our boat, we have, boats, we row out there, and the storm's coming. I mean, it's coming, and he's out there with his girlfriend. Like you said, I don't even have a 6-pack of beer. I'm like, where are you going? They would never make it in. This storm, so we towed him in just when we got to the beach. Lightning, thunder, 30-mile-an-hour gusts. I mean, they would have been gone. We probably never even know that they drowned. Maybe
they would have been out in the shipping lanes with that one.
So, you mentioned that. So it happens, and I know that story's true because I've had it happen to me. So it is amazing. That's the great thing. That's what I love about lifeguarding. When you see these stories and these things that come up, and it just makes you, the sad ones, when somebody does drown, but at least more time than not, we have fun like that, and we laugh our asses off. So So anything else, Tyler? When do you have to leave, Matt? When do you have to go? You're getting close to.
I got another 10 minutes or so.
Oh, okay. Great. Good. We don't want to keep you from work. So I had another question I wanted to ask you just about your beach. So you guys have. So when you say kilometers, so how many miles is your beach then? What would that equate to?
So 1 kilometer is 1.6. 1 mile is 1.6.
So you're about 15 miles, 12 miles?
Yeah, about 15 miles separated into 6 different beaches.
Now, does each one have like a captain and a lieutenant? Like how does your structure work? Like how do you structure the protocol? Like so I'm a lieutenant. We have a captain, we have a assistant captain, a chief. All the way down. So how did you structure your beach? I was just wondering how it works over there.
Okay, you have your junior lifeguards. They have their basic rescue qualification. And then you'll have senior lifeguards, which is usually a veteran of more than 2 seasons, but most probably 3 or 4. They'll work together, and as the weather gets hotter and hotter, we'll call in more. So from there, those guys are basically it on that area. You could have 500, 600, 700 people in an area and 2, maybe 3 lifeguards patrolling the area. Then we sort of use the ATV and jet ski as a force multiplier. So that helps get in. Of course, we've got the lifesavers that we work together on the weekends, and we kind of make up for it that way. The next level up from the lifeguard would be the that's usually a veteran lifeguard. Has been there a long time, and they will handle more of the rostering and administration type stuff, and also act as backup. But so unfortunately we don't really get that larger kind of chain of command that you guys have. That's awesome. If we need backup above the supervisor level, it's pretty much EMTs, fireys, fire brigade, police that come and help us sort that out. So from a perspective, there's a lot for those 2 lifeguards to do in that space and do and manage. And then so it kind of, we just need to call more in as it goes from there. Yeah.
So out of the 15 miles, say, a beach that you guys are protecting, how much of it is protected with lifeguards and how much of it is unprotected? Or is it all protected?
I'd say 80% of it is protected. And is areas that we'll respond to, but are not necessarily our areas of responsibility. We're very fortunate with that flagged area. the state law, the legislation says the flagged area and 250 meters either side of it is the primary area response, and anything outside of it is secondary. So if anything outside of there goes down, we have that priority area that sort of takes precedence over anything. So that's a little bit of a luxury when it comes to having that kind of cover. When you're talking about outside of that primary area, it's we have the stuff and assets available, whether we're able to respond to that. Of course, 99% of the time we do.
Yeah, see,
99% of the time we do respond to that.
Yeah, so in New Jersey, to give you an example, we have to have a lifeguard stand 100 yards apart. It can't be any, it has to be the minimum of 100 yards and 30 yards from the water. So it can't be any more than 30 yards from the water. And the lifeguard stand has to be within 100 yards of each other on a beach that has multiple lifeguard stands. And you have to have 2 lifeguards on duty, not necessarily on the stand, but on duty. So that's how we do it. And we also have to have a flotation device. So we use boards, and this is my next question. We use boards, we also use rowboats and jet skis, but we do lifeboats. And Atlantic City, which is south of us about 50, 60 miles, they use lifeguard boats as primary rescue vehicles. They'll send a guy out with a noose and then 2 guys in a boat. So do you guys have any boats other than competition? Do you use the boats at all for patrolling? I'm talking about like a rowboat, not a powered boat, but do you guys have any manual rowed boats at all?
The lifeguards, no. The surf clubs do. The sport. They're definitely unique, the boaties, we call them. Those guys go out in some hectic conditions. But yeah, we don't use them. We just kind of don't have the personnel amount of people it takes to row a boat. But yeah, they do exist.
So it's the volunteer guys.
In terms of your,
go ahead. So sorry. Go ahead. Go.
Yeah, no, you're right. The volunteer guys they compete with the boats, and it's amazing to watch. Like they will go out in some absolutely hectic surf, and you see the boats tip over. You see some real skill from those guys steering those things in, and the women too. There's women teams of boaties as well. It's really good to watch. Yeah,
Those
but in
guys
terms
are
of
so
your
crazy.
like, yeah. Australian surf it's got a lot of power. You'll feel it as soon as you get in the water. It's very unpredictable, and a lot of the time our beaches come from really, really deep water into shallow water, super fast. So you'll get like really, really dredging shore breaks and bars. So yeah, man, it's kind of what makes that kind of lifesaver, lifeguard type of deal. But there's no substitute for attitude, is there? And heart. That's what gets you out there in the end. But yeah, in terms of your tower placement, and we pretty much got the same rules. Like we need a tower every 500 meters. So that's just so we can provide adequate surveillance. And yeah, probably about our towers are probably more 50 meters back from the water's edge. Most of them, some of them are probably getting towards 75, 100 meters, but we've pretty much got the same sort of coverage that you're talking about.
Yeah, do you guys allow alcohol on the beach at all? Can people drink on your beaches?
If you go by the regulations, no. But I mean, we're going to be real party poopers if and it takes away from the job if you're going down telling people not to drink. So like we turn a blind eye to it. It's tolerated, and definitely. So for example, your July 4th is the busiest day of the year, right? For us, it's Australia, it's generally 26, and that is like max alcohol consumption and drunken swimming. Anything goes. And it's like you're gonna get intoxications usually on those days. Generally, with alcohol, it's not the consumption of alcohol so much that gives us problems. It's the rubbish and the leftover glass. So if anything, we're reminding people to take their rubbish home. On the other hand, in Japan, I've seen like that it's just hardcore drinking at the beach because they're on holidays and it's hot, you know.
Well, New Jersey is you know, a lot. We don't do tournaments, but a lot of beaches do, and especially South Jersey with the boats. You know, so competition in lifeguarding is a big aspect of it in New Jersey. You know, and I used to do Ironman, which was, you know, row, swim, and paddleboard, run, swim, run. And you know, those were great years. And we have U.S. nationals and regionals, so that's a big part. I've watched I had a buddy who's head of lifeguards down in British Virgin Islands, and he's from England, and he goes to the International Lifeguard Association, and he tells me he was in Australia at some tournament. The guy got killed. You know, I don't know, he got hit either by a boat or rock. So people do. I don't know if it's anymore, but you know, I've heard and read back in the day that, you know, they got killed. Guys got killed, you know, in competing. So it was kind of crazy. I don't know how.
Yeah.
They key it down a little bit now.
Yeah, definitely keyed it down a little bit more, like more risk assessments, and if the conditions are that bad, they'll find an alternative or call it off or move it. But yeah, they're hardcore, mate. Like the people I work with have literally said, I've turned up to the competition and I'm pooping my pants. Like, it's that bad. But obviously, like the adrenaline takes over and everybody else is going out there. So it's kind of, you know, you're out there with everybody else. But yeah, it's definitely, it's changed a lot now.
Yeah, back in the day, I competed in stuff that, you know, it was just, we look back, it was crazy. And I remember rolling up to one. It was called the Gouties, and it's 4 events. We swim out to a 30-pound bag, a duffel bag that's floating out on a buoy. And I was doing the singles where I row out the boat myself, grab the bag, row it back in, and you know, throw it on the beach. And I wasn't feeling good. I didn't feel like I was trained enough, you know, and I was looking for an excuse not to compete. And we pulled over the dune, and the ocean was just bad, nasty. And I'm like, they gotta cancel it. And they didn't cancel it.
This guy's always flexing his tournament experience, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, you never seen it. Yeah. Well, it before you were born. That's the problem, you know. Tyler don't understand. I was going, but yeah, the South Jersey. If you ever have a chance to go on the internet and look at the Gouties or Atlantic City, you know, they have it on a lot of YouTube channels. Their stuff is just amazing. It really is. The boat stuff, and especially the Red Bull used to, for about 2-3 years, they had a Red Bull competition. They were videoing it from helicopters and at high definition. It's really some neat stuff to watch. So I'd recommend you hit it. So anyway, Tyler, anything else? What else?
No, I mean, I know you're running out of time pretty quickly here, so we'll let you go. But is there anything you want to share with everybody before you get to work?
Just thanks again for putting the podcast on, guys. I love it. Always down for checking out as much lifeguard subject related matter. So definitely check out those videos, Cash. I'll try and send you guys some videos if I can at some time.
Yes.
Just from over here. And just if.
Go ahead.
If it is possible if you're an American lifeguard to work here in Australia. It's kind of got to get the manager visa. Like if you do make it out here, you can always have another summer and get paid and pick up some experience. So I'll try and put this up and arrange some sort of deal like that. But thanks so much again for putting it on.
Whatever details you have on any of that, shoot me an email, and we'll get it out there to everybody.
There used to be an exchange between Long Beach Island, not Island Beach State Park, but further down south from us, it's Long Beach Island. It's about 18-mile long island. And it was the Beach Patrol of Long Beach Island. And they used to have a transfer of lifeguards. So they'd send lifeguards from New Jersey to Australia and Australia to New Jersey. And I remember
Nice.
that. Yeah, and they did it for a while. I think what happened was with the immigration stuff, it got a little bit hairy. But it was a big exchange for many, many years. And I think that's important. I think that's a great idea. Listen, if you send us any videos, send it to the drkatchmar@icloud.com. We'll certainly, put them on. And if you don't want to, call like this, you could always call us. We have a phone, that's available. But we love to hear from people. If you have anybody else who wants to contact us, we'd love to do this. I was just down in Fort Lauderdale. I'm going to try to get a hold of those guys to come on. We've had we have a friend who's in Miami Beach. He's been on a couple times, and we've had other people. We've had a couple from Canada. So it's really interesting. I love to see how everybody else lifeguards. I think we have more things in common than we don't. And there is nobody talking about this, and I like the nuts and bolts. And we didn't do a show for about 2-3 months. Labor Day weekend, I had a really bad injury. I fractured my collarbone making a rescue, and I was kind of out of commission. I couldn't even sleep at night, So we're all kind of busy. But now we're back into the swing of things. So we're gonna keep on hitting it hard. So I appreciate you having coming on with us. Really, Tyler, you want to say anything?
Oh, I'm good.
So listen, Matt, take care. We're gonna try to keep a tight schedule here and do every week again. Like we've been. And you could always call in if you see us. Just give us a shout. You could while we're doing the podcast. The cast here, the video cast. You could send us a little email or something, and we could respond to you. You know what I'm saying? So we always love that.
Nice.
All right, yeah. If you watch us,
Excellent.
just put on YouTube. Just if you put on YouTube or Rumble, just share and you put on share and support us. And then when we go live, it'll talk to you. It'll give you a bell. It'll give you a notice, and you can send us a little notice that you hear us. All right, sound good?
Awesome.
All right, listen.
Stay out, stay alive, right?
Yeah.
Stay out and stay alive. Thanks a lot. Take care, Matt.
Appreciate it, Matt.
Bye bye.
Thanks, mate. See ya.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye bye.